Hey everybody, I'm here with my buddy Jason Shane, old Atlanta Stumps, and recently Jason came out and grinded up a stump for me, and we got to talking. I said, "Man, I gotta have a podcast with you because you got a lot of really cool stuff." But the first thing I wanted to ask Jason was, Jason, somebody's trying to figure out, do I get this tree down? Do you come in before they cut the tree and talk to them, or do you wait till they cut the tree, or how does that usually work?
No, I usually come in after they've already cut the tree down. A lot of tree companies will contact me to come in and get rid of the stump. They've already sold it, so I come in. I have to be there, so I go by and I check it out, and then grind the stump up and make it nice and pretty. And
So why does somebody need a stump grinded?
if you want to plant anything there, you have to get rid of it. If it's in a natural area, you grind it, cover it up, and it'll be fine. But if you want to put grass or a plant or something, you've got to get rid of it.
So when you grind a stump, how deep do you usually go?
I bury it until I see dirt. It's gone. Depending on the side of the stump. If it's a 6 foot wide stump, clearly I can't go as deep as that thing's going to be.
Like how deep would that be?
I have done one where it was 8 feet deep.
Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't have any idea.
Yeah, it was old Magnolia down in Buckhead, and it was deep. But I use Bobcat, dig a trail, and go down there and grind it out.
So what about the roots? Do you get the roots too, or how does that work?
I take the roots out depending on where they are in the yard. Some people don't want you to tear the yard up too much. But yes, I will trace the roots out, usually till they get about wrist, about that thick, and then leave it at that because the rest of it is fine. But yeah, I'll chase them out.
So when he came, what I didn't know is, so this thing is all electronic controlled. It looks like like a video game almost, like a monster, right?
Yeah,
So tell me about the machine you use.
I use a Bandit 2650. It's on tracks. The machine it's a 75 horsepower machine. It's about 5,000 pounds. It's a big machine, but it's really cool because I can pull those tracks in and go through a 35-inch gate, so I can get in people's backyards. And with the tracks, it doesn't damage the yard at all. I mean, it's after somebody comes and cuts the grass, you'll never know I was there. So as long as if I have to pivot, I'll put down plywood and turn on that. But for the most part, you drive in, straight shot, cut it, back out.
So it's crazy, y'all. So it's on tracks. It's not on wheels,
Nope.
right? So that way you don't have to worry about sliding or spinning up somebody's yard or
Yep,
whatever, and you just kind of run like a bobcat. It's really about the size of a bobcat. And
Yeah,
it's a huge machine. And so how long you been grinding stumps?
I started in 2018, and honestly, I did the stay-at-home dad thing for 10 years before that, and then we switched roles, and my wife wanted to be with my youngest child, and so I had a couple friends that owned tree companies, and they're like, "You ought to get a stump grinder," and I was like, "Okay, I grew up on a farm. I know how to run a tractor, and we'll figure that one out." So, yeah, started about 2018.
So where was the farm you grew up?
Actually, right on Bethany. It's still there. It's 28 acres.
Your mom lives there?
Yep. I've been there, pretty much my whole life. Our first house was 40 acres over, which is now Lita Thompson Park, and it used to be called Kingston Farm. Yeah, so
Tell us about that.
my dad was an original member of the Kingston Trio, which is a folk group from the 50s and 60s. There's actually a Kingston Trio running around now, but
What did they buy the name or something? Or
My father bought the name when the original band broke up, and he bought it in the 71, and maintained it and kept it going for 60 years until he passed away in 2020. Same day Kobe Bryant died.
Wow. So the Kingston Trio, I don't know if y'all are very familiar with them. Depends on how old you are, right? So
Yeah, yeah. Grandparents have probably heard of it.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. I mean, that's a pretty cool history.
Yeah, it was an interesting upbringing. There was always somebody interesting in the house, and you get gold albums and Grammys and things like that. It was neat. In 2011, we got to go to the Grammys because they gave Dad the Lifetime Achievement Award, which was really neat to do. It was interesting to see how all that stuff operates in the background. One of the coolest things I think we've done was went to the Eagles concert. That was my kid's first concert because Timothy Schmidt, the first time I met him at a concert, he brought out a picture of him and two buddies going, you've got to see this. Now I'm in this guy's trailer, we're hanging out, and he's bringing out this old picture with him and his buddy, and they're like, we wanted to be the Kingston Trio so bad. And I said, you know how bizarre this is? I said, you're with the Eagles, man. This is just, it just doesn't make any sense.
You always want what you don't have, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I took my kids to go see him backstage, and he couldn't have been nicer, and let my oldest son, Inman, pick out. He's like, see that box over there? He goes, go in there and, open up and tell me what shirt I should wear for the concert.
Really?
Yeah, so Inman picked out a shirt, and it was one that Timothy's mother had made for him.
Really?
He wore it all through the concert.
So did you meet any other famous people during that time?
I've met, Bud and Travis. It's another old folk group, but nobody, Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Because it was back when? When were they?
They were 58 when they started, and then they their heyday was 58 to 65-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's Smothers Brothers. They were real fun. Tommy was around as often as he could be. Yeah, it was fun.
What were some of the songs that they did that were fun?
Tom Dooley and Greenback Dollar, MTA. My dad's was Scotch and Soda, which was a neat.
How about
song.
500 Miles? Was that one of theirs?
They sang it, they recorded it, but it wasn't one of theirs.
Did somebody else had recorded that?
Yeah. Like what was there was a song that they did that the Monkees did. God, I can't remember the name of it. What was the name of that song? Daydream Believer. And that was written by John Stewart, who sang with my dad, and I actually have a copy of the sheet music.
Who's got all of those awards? Does your mom have them at the house? Or?
No, my brother's got the gold albums. Right now, I've got the Grammys. I've got 3. He got the first country western Grammy ever given because they didn't have a category for country western, or for folk music. But Dad was the it band, so they gave him the country western. And then the next year they gave him best folk album, and then in 2011 got the Lifetime Achievement, which was really
So
neat.
I remember the farm out there on 92 because I lived down the
Yeah.
street growing up. So did you ever live out there on the farm?
Oh yeah, I lived there till I was about 9. That was just to me, that was such a magical place. It was a really neat place.
Was how big? How many acres?
40.
40 acres.
Yeah.
Is that still intact, that thing?
It is because Lita Thompson, she lived next door, and she had 110 acres,
Ooh.
which she donated because she had no children, had no family. So she donated to the city of Roswell. City of Roswell thought, hey, if we get this 50 acres from Dr. Malcolm, who had purchased it from my mother, then we'd have a 150-acre park, and that's what they did.
So Miss Thompson, what was her deal? How did she make her money, or how did she end up with 100 acres? Do you know?
I don't remember.
Because she had some other houses out there.
She had it's like a townhome kind of a group
community
there,
or
community that's right there, and I think it's still there. But I never understood how they just had it forever. It's like my buddy Lee Bates, who his family had 36 acres on Hopewell since pre-Civil War. Somebody in the Bates family had owned it.
Wow.
It was a neat piece of property. I think the city of Milton owns that now.
So when you go out and somebody calls you a stump grind, what all's included in that, and how do you price that out? How do you figure out what to do with that?
I have a 150 minimum to go out. So if I go out and I bring my machine out and do a little stump, it's $150, and it's just where you start. and beyond that, it just ends up being time. And sometimes if it's, I used to do it by the inch. I don't do that anymore because it just doesn't.
You just kind of get a feel for what the time and effort
You
is.
get a feel for how much how long it's gonna take, and so most average jobs end up being between $200 and $300. Now, if you get multiple stumps and it ends up turning into half a day, yeah, it changes the price of it. But the only way to find that out is to go out and check it out.
Now your machine looks different than the other machines that I've seen. So what's the difference in your equipment and say an average stump grinder's equipment?
The average stump grinder, like the ones that you can rent from Home Depot or Sunbelt
Right.
or wherever, those are very small machines. They have maybe 15, 20 horsepower. Maybe mine has 75. It's a big machine that gets the job done way faster. And the rental rates on the smaller machines is about $450 a day. It would take you 2 days to do a considerable size stump, meaning your average pine tree, 20 inch, 26 inch, it would take you all day to do that.
With a rental.
Yeah. Now I can go in there and probably get it done in about 20 minutes.
Just because there's more
But
RPMs
just
and
more
blades.
more power. Just and more power, more torque. Yeah.
All right, what about permits? Do you need a permit to have somebody stump grind?
I locate every time. I call 811. It's free service, but I call them, and if there's ever a question, most of the time I do it anyway, just to have it, just to be safe. One customer has said, "Oh yeah, I know exactly where mine is," and sure enough, it was not where he said it was, and I had this. The only one I really major worry about is internet, because they stitch that in the ground, but power, gas, water, all of those are going to be 30 to 36 inches deep, which I never have the need to go that deep. It's just not necessary. Most tree stumps disappear around 15 inches.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So
Then the roots are keeping it in.
yeah. Well, and then you chase the roots out, and now you'll have to go in, and a landscaper will come in and remove the mulch, or you just put it around your house. But when I'm done, I rake it out, make it look nice and pretty. But as of yet, I'm not set up to remove it. That's a whole nother process.
Now, what about travel? How far do you go?
I'll go as far as anybody needs me to go. As
long as it's profitable.
As long as it's profitable. But an hour and 20 minutes is pretty.
So like these storms and all that come
Yeah,
through, do you get a lot of that work?
I went to Augusta. My wife had said, "You need to go to Augusta." I didn't even realize that hurricane had hit Augusta. And I went out there, and it was the first time I'd chased storms, and it was, I've never seen anything like it in my life. But I stayed there.
That place was wrecked.
It was wrecked. And I was there for 2.5 months, just, staying in a hotel and knocking on doors. And the stories that I got from people, that they were just gouging them so badly. One of the first ladies I met, she had 50 trees that fell down in her yard, and a company had come in and said, "Oh, we'll come back and do the stumps." She paid them in cash, and they never showed up. And I felt really bad for her, and I gave her the best price I could. But and those things happened all the time. I just went down there and charged the normal rate of what I normally charge, because there was work there. And
That's the kind of guy you are.
that's the kind of guy I am, and apparently people were appreciative because I had a ton of work. So, and I just, I actually enjoyed it. I like meeting the people and talking to them and seeing their houses and their properties, and it's nice. I enjoy it.
So tell me about growing up in Atlanta. We got so many people here that aren't from here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so where did you go to school and all that?
I went to, it was called the New School. It was down in...
Was it new?
No, it was actually called St. Francis in '78, and then it was for learning disabilities and sometimes behavioral stuff. But they had to change locations, so they moved off of Brandon Mill Road, and it was actually Ed Dodd who used to do Mark Trail, that little thing. That was his old house. And that's where our school was, and they moved over the summer and had to create a name because they sold St. Francis. So they just said the New School. So that was our school, and that is now Mill Springs, which is over off of Providence. So yeah, it's grown a good bit.
So were you living in the Roswell, Alpharetta area?
Alpharetta,
and
yeah.
your mom took you to school down there?
My sisters went to Lovett and Westminster, and so my childhood was spent in the front seat of a Suburban, going back and forth all day. My grandmother.
The bus
lived,
didn't run that far?
Yeah, my grandmother lived right behind the governor's mansion, so we'd go over there and hang out. And instead of driving back and forth, I'd go to Nana's house. And,
Well, it sounds like that's fairly privileged if your grandmother lived behind the governor's mansion and your sisters went to private school and you did too.
well, yeah, but I think it was different back then. I don't think it's.
You didn't feel rich?
No, I never did. I never did because Mom moved out here because she wanted to be away from
All that?
She grew up in Buckhead. So my oldest son, his name is Inman. If that gives you any idea, that is Inman Park. Our family has been here forever. And
Your mom's?
My mom's, yeah. My dad was, he was 5th generation Hawaiian, and Mom was
Did he look Hawaiian?
No, he was German.
How the heck did they end up in Hawaii?
She was going to run away from home. So she's traveling on her own, and she went out to California and to get on a boat to go to Hawaii. Well, she was traveling by herself, and back then they wanted to pair single travelers up with, if it was a woman, they put them with a woman. So Mom got paired up with my dad's aunt on the way over there. And
Hawaii.
To Hawaii.
From California.
Yeah. And she said, "Oh, you've got to meet my nephew. He's starting this little band." So Mom met Dad, and their first date was at the Royal Hawaiian, the Pink Hotel that's on Waikiki Beach. And Mom tells me about that all the time. They hit it off, and the rest is history. Was the band already They
going?
had just started. I think some of Dad's stuff he was still doing Elvis Presley and the Hawaiian Elvis Presley and impersonation stuff. But yeah, they got together and just ran around and played colleges. So Mom was on that whole ride.
So she was early on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me about her family history.
My great-grandfather, so her grandfather was General A.R. Glancy, who was the vice president of General Motors, and he was president of the Pontiac division. He actually started Pontiac. We have a photo album from 1926 where he had gone out. It was a secret meeting they got the Algonquin Indians and the Indian chiefs together to ask their permission to use their name, Pontiac, for car company.
Wait a minute, that was the name of the Indian tribe?
The Chief Pontiac. So
the chief's name was Pontiac.
Yes, yeah. So they they have a picture of Grandpa Glancy in a headdress and with his wife and the other people and showing the car to the Indians, and it's a great photo album. But they made him honorary Chief Pontiac, and he did lots of things. My mom's cousin lived in over in Duluth, and it was tiny. Duluth was tiny, and Grandpa Glancy is credited with saving the town of Duluth because his daughter was married to a guy who owned a dairy farm out there, and one of the people that worked on the farm, their child had died, an infant. So she wrote to her father up in Michigan, and he sent her $500 to start a hospital. Well, that hospital is Joan Glancy Memorial Hospital.
It sure is.
Yeah. So he came down and he goes, "Oh, this just isn't going to do." He was a big thinker, and so they put more money into it, and then created a clothing factory to actually support the hospital and support Duluth, so that Duluth didn't have to pay for everything itself. And
Is that building still there?
I think so. Yeah, the actual
Clothing
yeah,
manufacturer.
it's right next to where the hospital's still there. It's now, I think it's a rehab facility. But at my house we have one of the first little nail barrels that they had little small barrels, and they cut it out, and that was the cribs that they used to use. So I've got that
For the
in
babies.
my house. Yeah, for the babies. Yeah, it's neat.
So how did her grandfather, was her family originally from Detroit? Was he a Detroit guy, or did he go there for GM? Or?
No, that one I'd have to ask my mother on that one. But my grandfather was Inman Brandon. He was a lawyer here in town. Morris Brandon Elementary. That was his father. So they just had been here. I think they did lots in train.
Train business?
Train business. Yeah, they just.
Well, it was
been here
terminus,
forever.
right?
Yeah. So we've been here for a long time. Inman Park that was Samuel Inman, who started Georgia Tech, and that was a great grandfather somewhere down the line.
So you kin to him.
Yep.
You're kin. You think you're kin to the Inmans?
Oh, I know I am. Yeah.
Wow. I was over there recently and saw that. I think it was like a station, like a train station or something. They say it was just cool as heck, and they've turned it into an event facility. It was and I think there's one of the first oldest trees is there. I'm trying to think. There's a sign out there. I wish I could think of what kind of tree it was, but it's like some unique tree that somebody planted, way back when, and it's still standing. And hopefully you don't have to go stump grind it.
No, I actually did one in Buckhead that was probably 13 or 14 feet wide, and it was right behind that high rise where Elton John lived.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad for it, but the tree, it was pre-Civil War, easy, just massive. Can
you tell how old a tree is when you're looking at it when it's cut?
I get an idea. Yeah.
How do you do that?
Rings. You can count the rings.
So it is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, but when they get that old, I don't have the patience to actually count.
You can't go up 200 years.
Yeah, it's like, but you can get an idea of when a tree's over 100 years old.
Any particular tree harder to do? Or one easier?
River birch. River birch. And I've never understood why builders put river birch right next to people's houses or right next to their driveway, because the roots are so invasive. And you asked about roots. That is one that I will chase roots out, because it will come back if you don't chase them out good. But their roots remain.
So you
large.
cut the tree, and then if you don't get the roots, then the tree grows back where the root.
It can have sprigs that come up. Wow. And I think cherries are that way as well.
So do you know your trees now? I mean, you've kind of had to learn your trees.
Yeah.
Can you drive down the road and say that's a certain kind of tree?
Yes.
Because if you're looking at it, it's usually a stump. How do you know what it looks like?
Usually tell what little bark is left on it. You can tell. You can tell. I actually don't mind going through oak. Everybody's like, well, that's the hardest. Not for my machine. It just goes.
Oh, that's a monster machine, man. You got to see it. It's worth having him out just to see him back that sucker off the trailer. It's pretty cool. I've never seen anything like it. It's high tech.
Yeah, it's a great machine.
All right, what are we not asking?
To stitch in?
Yeah, I'll ask him some more questions.
You never said anything about the remote control component of your machine.
Yeah, you did.
Or you should tell the story about and the potentially about that time that the man had the 2 autistic children and you let them run the machine.
Oh, yeah.
It was such a wonderful story.
All right, let's go with that.
Also tying into Atlanta History Center.
What is Atlanta History Center? The Swan House. Yeah. That was my mom's. That was my mom's house.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Brandon Hall. That was their.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Brandon Hall was their summer home.
You didn't really hit on, like, for people who don't know who Kingston Trio is, you didn't really hit on the kind of the gravity of the band, except for the fact that it was that they have won Grammys. Like, they still maintain the top. They're still in the top 10 of the most record sales.
Yeah.
Album
ever.
sales.
Yeah.
They're still in it, even though they're all dead.
Yeah, they're the only group. They were only group to have 5 albums on the charts at the same time.
Them was Beyonce one time.
Yeah.
And now
She actually
Michael
just broke that
Jackson.
record. Yeah.
And so that would be an interesting tidbit, and maybe about how you didn't hit on he asked you a question in regards to your dad and how he was, but the Castles were in Hawaii because they were.
I don't know if I want to tell that. It's not a real good one.
No.
All right, so
it's
hang on,
not.
hang on,
But
hang on
they
before you
were
get too far.
missionaries.
All right, so this machine is automated, right? You kind of drive
Yeah,
this stump grinder with the thing. You got any great stories about that?
I actually have two. One of them, the first one was an old lady who just had her hip replaced. And the stump was right out in front of her door. And she just was standing there and watching it. And I looked at her and I said, "You want to do it?" And so she's like, "Okay." So I went inside. She was behind her screen door, so it wasn't going to hurt her. Then I showed her how to operate it. And she started doing it, and she's like, "Oh, this is great. You can leave now." You know, she was just
She
tickled
loved the
pink.
toy.
Yeah, she was tickled pink that she got to play with it. And the other one was there was a family they had an autistic son, and he was just enamored with how just watching it. I said, "You want to try?" And he looked at his mom, and she's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." You know, we were up on the deck looking down on it, so there's no way he's getting hurt. So I put it on him.
Because you can be that far away, right?
Yeah, you can be 500 feet away from it. So
Wow.
we were up on the deck, and it was down in the yard. So I let him do it, and he just was mesmerized, and actually took to it really quick. I was like, I might have to hire this kid. Yeah,
It'd be good. Well, yeah.
He was a young kid, but it was, I enjoy those kinds of things because people get a kick out of it.
Yeah, it makes you feel good in the heart, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So tell me about the Swan House.
The Swan House. The Swan House was my mother's grandparents' house. I forget which one it was. It was not Inman's. Was it Inman's? Yeah, it was the Inman's house. So Mom used to go there and stay there and hang out, and so we went to go do the tour, and they have silverware that is in my house that we used growing up, you know, and there's still a bunch of it. It's just, you know, it's the old, you know, Harriet Inman silverware sets. And
So it was just their house. How did it end up being the place it is today? Do you know?
I don't know how it became that, but it maybe just because of the Atlanta History Center. But yeah, that was.
Or if they donated it or anything.
I don't know, but you know. But
Is the Inman family still around Atlanta? Because
there
Inman was a
are-
mayor at one time.
There
right?
are some. I ran across one when he was either doing a book about him or he was an Inman from. It was our children's preschool that we went to, not Kingsridge, but it was St. Aidan's. And I'd met him, and he was writing a big book on the Inmans, and I never did follow up on it, but he was an Inman, and I was like, "Hey, we got something to talk about." So we chatted about it a little bit, but
We're cousins.
yeah, we're cousins somehow.
And Brandon Hall, is that still a school?
I think they actually they closed it down. It's a school, but it's not Brandon Hall anymore.
Is that the one in Chastain Park, or where is
No,
Brandon Hall?
it's off of Spalding.
Okay.
You get off at Northridge and cut around that way. That was actually my grandparents' summer home. So if they were down, you know, growing up in Buckhead, to go for a summer home, it was a haul. It was
It'd
a
be
stretch.
like us going to Delano.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, back then. So yeah, my mom's got great stories of going there and living there, and you know, it's just a.
How did that get to be a school? Do you know?
No, they sold it. It was actually a school, and it was a. Actually, it was like a. You'd go and you'd live there. You know, kids would come in from out of state and stay there, and
So a boarding school.
as a boarding school, yeah.
Does it have anything in particular? Was it for any learning
My
disability?
brother Brandon went there for like first grade, second grade.
Was it named after him?
Brandon, my brother was named after it. Yes, yeah. My brother's name is Inman Brandon, but he goes by Brandon.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it was I never went to that school. I have a couple friends that went there. I think it was a little more on the behavioral side of kind of a school, specialized. but it ran for many years, and I think that just recently they closed it. I'm not sure what it is now. I'd like to
So,
find out about
I
that.
did a little research on the Kingston Trio, and there was something about they had like more #1 albums or something. What do you know what the deal is on that?
They still hold many records for Billboard records for being, 5 albums on the Billboard charts
At one time,
At one time, because they used to just
Albums.
yeah, and they would churn those out. And I remember Dad telling me a story going into at Capitol Records. If you go into the Capitol Records building, they were 20% of Capitol Records income at one time. But they would go in and cut an album in one take because they were consistently traveling and touring and so they knew how to play with each other, and they'd sing around one mic. It wasn't all of this, we got to edit this and edit that. They just go in and
It was live.
bang, get it done. It was.
So who wrote the songs
A
mostly?
lot of them were, folk songs that were up for grabs that you could use.
Other people wrote?
Other people wrote. One of them, Dad's song that he was well known for was "Scotch and Soda," and that was.
Was that his
actually-
favorite drink?
I can't remember. I think Dad was more of a not a bourbon, but he liked like rum.
Rum?
Yeah, rum and coke. That was
That's
it.
from Hawaii.
Yeah, that was his thing. But yeah, he the one song that he sang, "Scotch and Soda," was they found it. Tom Seaver, the baseball player, his parents were friends with Dad, and they were at a piano bar, and this guy was just making this song, singing this song, and so they wrote it down. They said, "Is this your?" He goes, "No." He goes, "You can use it." He goes, "I have no idea who wrote it. That nobody knows." So they gave it to Dad, and one of Dad's partner, Dave Guard, he actually owns the trademark to it, but Dad was the one that always sang it. That was the most requested song that he'd ever done. So it was, and I danced with my wife to it at our wedding.
Oh,
that was fun.
And Frank Sinatra said about it.
Oh yeah,
Frank
Yeah.
Sinatra.
He used
yeah.
to hang out with
Frank Sinatra. Somebody had asked Frank Sinatra if he would ever do a recording of Scotch and Soda, and he goes, "No, Bob Shane's done it perfectly. I can't beat that." And I was like, "That's really cool."
That is really cool.
That's cool.
Because he was
And,
a legend too.
Yeah, and not many people know this, but the Beatles opened up for my father in England.
No kidding.
So Dad came back and told the guys at the Capitol, "Oh, you got to check these guys out." And I think he regrets that, until the day
So-
he died.
Did he ever complain about, I wasn't getting my take or whatever, or the record label wasn't good to me or any of that? Because I hear a lot of artists, feel like they're getting.
Dad just enjoyed playing. He liked all of it. Does he have regrets about some of the things that he didn't make it? He made a lot of money, but he blew a lot of money too. I mean, he just, he drive fast, take chances. That was my dad's motto. So yeah, he had cars. He was good friends with Carol Shelby, and Carol had called him up and said, "You got to come see this car I got. You got to come by." So Dad goes out there, and it was AC Cobra, and Dad said he took him out for a ride in it, and he said he was just doing probably 60, 70 miles an hour, coming up to a T, and Dad's holding the seat. Carol just goes up, and bang, poof, cuts around, and Dad got to have one. He had 2 of them, but he ended up, selling them back to traded them in the next year. And so he wrote a little coffee table book called "The Cars I Should Have Kept." And so those were some of the regrets he had were those kinds of things, because he had some phenomenal cars. He had some great cars, but you never know.
You don't.
You never know. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, hey, if you need your stump grinded and you need to learn a little bit of Atlanta history while you're getting your stump grinded, you need to give my buddy Jason a call. He's an awesome guy. He's really fair. He's trustworthy. He's local, and he wants to do a good job. So, Jason, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
with
I
me
appreciate
today.
it very much.
Appreciate it.
it.